you're listening to the wrong podcast. Topics today include consequences, concerns, and constitutions.
Wrong!
It's the wrong podcast, but we'll make it right. Spinning the world in a whole new light. Winning wild and a little askew. And the one who's right, it might be you. It might be you.
Hi, I'm Tim. I'm here to talk about politics, culture, religion, sports, and anything else you're not allowed to talk about in polite company. Issue number 1! You're a bad person. I have a story that this guy just qualifies as the worst person I've ever heard of in my life. Just the worst. Normally, you're not supposed to say that about people. I'm willing to say it about this guy. As you might remember, if you're old enough like I am, 9/11 was a terrible day. September 11th, 2001, terrorists flew passenger airplanes into skyscrapers in New York City, among other places, and it was awful. It was all over the news. We're all watching it. We see this happening. We see the buildings fall down. In the midst of all of this happening, this customer service agent for a major financial investment firm gets a call from one of their clients. And the guy on the other side of the phone says, "I'm watching the TV. Are you watching the TV?" The guy goes, "Yes, I'm watching the TV. This is awful. This is the worst. This is one of the worst days of my lifetime." And the client says, "Yeah, it's awful. Do you see all those papers falling down out of the buildings?" And the guy goes, yeah, I see everything falling. It's awful. All that. Yeah, I see all the debris." And the guy goes, "Those better not be my papers falling down." The guy says, "Sir, I assure you your financial documents are secure." And he says, "They better be. Those better not be my papers falling down out of the sky." This guy is the awful. I think I just said this guy is the awful. This guy is the awful. From now on, he is the awful. We're not even going to call him a bad person anymore. We're just going to call him the awful. This is terrible. We all have fears. We all deal with our fears in different ways. In that moment, worrying about whether or not your paperwork is falling out of the skyscrapers that have just been ripped open by airplanes, as people are jumping to their deaths, hoping to escape the flames, maybe that's not the time to worry about whether or not your financial information is confidential. Maybe not the exact moment. And I believe the customer service agent who was telling the story, he was a champ. He handled it professionally and said, "Don't worry, sir. We're making sure that everything is confidential and secure." But gosh, I would want to tell that guy off. Issue number 2. States' rights. You might be aware that there is a little bit of controversy concerning the Civil War. Most of us, when we think about the Civil War, we think that was fought over slavery. But you would be wrong to think that everybody thinks it was fought over slavery. There is a sizable number of people, most of them in southern states that were represented by the Confederacy, that say, no, it was not about slavery. It was about states' rights. And part of the reason they say this is true is because most of the people fighting for the Confederacy were not slave owners. They were too poor to own slaves. And they were just fighting out of sense of loyalty for their state, and their states needed rights. The states had some expectation that they were allowed to govern themselves, and this was being threatened by the federal government. And the southern states, they did not like this. They wanted to make sure that they remained autonomous. And it just so happened to be over their concerns over slavery, but they were worried over other things aside from slavery. And I heard this law professor, he considered this idea, he considered it seriously. He thought, okay, maybe this is the case. Maybe it is the case that the southern states really were concerned about states' rights instead of slavery. After all, they were called a confederacy of states, and a confederacy is a looser collection of things. So he looked into the Constitution of the Confederacy of the United States of America. I guess it wasn't the Confederacy of the United States of America. It was the Confederacy of the Americas, of Confederacy of States of the Americas, I think is what it's called. And he looks into their Constitution. Okay, clearly the Constitution will say that these states have greater state rights than the United States Constitution. It'll be very clear that if this is the reason, that it'll be called out what kind of rights each state has, that the federal government cannot control they cannot overstep the autonomy of each of these states. And it turns out that the Constitution of the Confederacy is almost exactly like the Constitution of the United States of America. It is almost exactly the same. There are no enumerated rights for states at all. Everything is exactly the same concerning how the federal government would rule over the state governments. The one exception, there's a few minor exceptions, a few minor ones, like I think there's a line item veto for the president of the Confederacy. But aside from those minor things, the one major exception is about slavery. Over and over and over again, the Constitution of the Confederacy makes it clear that slavery will be legal and will forever be legal in the Confederacy. And if it expands in any way, it will be legal in those expansions. Over and over and over again, nothing about states' rights. Lots and lots and lots about slavery. And what we're hearing when we hear about states' rights and the Confederacy and the Civil War was all about states' rights, that's revisionist history. It's just all revisionist history. And we shouldn't be surprised by revisionist history. Owning slaves and fighting to maintain the right to own slaves, that's shameful. Nobody wants to think that that was the reasoning. That's a shameful reason. So they, of course, manufacture this thing about states' rights. That must have been the true reason. And revisionist history is not something that just happened in history. It continues today. I am shocked. We see revisionist history right now, today. You don't have to go far to find somebody rewriting what happened on January 7th, 2021. It boggles my mind what people say. That there was no violence going on, that it was perfectly legal, that they were just peaceful, loving people that were railroaded and had their rights stripped away from them and thrown in prison, and they're all thrown into solitary confinement for doing nothing. Over time, history will make it very, very clear to everyone that the Civil War was fought over slavery. And over time, history will make it very, very clear to everyone that the riots at the Capitol were not a peaceful demonstration full of love and unity for the country. At least I hope so. Hey, it's time. What are the rules?
Oh, what are the rules? What are the rules? Don't touch my fries or my garden tools. Oh, what are the rules? Yeah, I've got my quirks. Follow them closely and I promise it works.
Okay, this isn't so much a rule as a life hack. My 9-year-old daughter and I, we came up with this idea that we think is brilliant and will work every time. It's a life hack. This life hack requires you to have a child, though. So if you have a child under the age of 10, give it a whirl. You go to a party, you go to a park, you go to a park and somebody's having a birthday party and they've got a bounce house and they've got all kinds of food set out at this park, and anybody could walk up and see everything that's going on. And if you're anything like us, you love cake. Specifically, you love birthday cake, right? I can't get past how much I love birthday cake all of a sudden. I was just at a birthday party yesterday and already I want more birthday cake. It's so delicious. So you see this birthday cake sitting there and you see all their other yummy food sitting there, and they've got a bounce house. This only works if they have a bounce house. So you and your child, you walk up and you see the bounce house and you speak to whoever seems like they might be in charge. You find some adult near the bounce house and you say, "Hey, would it be okay if my child played in your bounce house?" And of course, they're going to say, "Yeah, that's fine. Go for it. Great. Enjoy." So your child crawls into the bounce house. They jump up and down for a little while. They need to bounce around for a little while for this to work. And you just hang out near the bounce house. You might talk with a few people if you want to, but you just hang out. You look like you're a part of the party. And then when they get out of the bounce house, people are used to seeing you there and they just assume that you're part of this birthday party. And then you help yourself to whatever they've got sitting out. There you go. Enjoy your birthday cake. Remember, I want to know what's wrong with you.
What's wrong with you?
If you'd like to submit a question, topic, or tell me how I was wrong, you can email me at listen@thewrongpodcast.com or submit a comment at my website, thewrongpodcast.com. And help me spread the wrong message. If you like what you hear, share it with your friends. Now it's time for my favorite part of the show, I Was Wrong.
I was wrong. Oh, I was wrong.
Hey, I'm not sure if I said it or not, but my daughter and I have not actually tried that bounce house thing. We just feel confident that it will work if we did try it. We haven't worked up the guts to actually do it yet. But I'm sure you will, and you let me know, and I will return and report to everybody in this segment of the show, where I read listener comments. First comment comes from listener Wendy. Not just listener Wendy, it comes from the lovely Wendy.
She's so lovely.
She said, "That freeway sign story was amazing. It's what I listened to this podcast for. Well, that, and because I love you, and I would listen even if I hated it." I accept all of that, lovely Wendy. Absolutely all of it. Listener Jason, he is one of my youngest listeners. He is 15, and he had his family, his entire family, listening to my podcast. Not just one episode, not just two episodes. They were listening for like 2 or 3 hours, listening to multiple episodes on Mother's Day. Kudos, Jason. I don't know what I've done to deserve this, but you deserve all the birthday cake I can give you. He particularly enjoyed hearing the segment I did where presidential candidates throughout the last 40 years have announced that this was the most important election of our lifetimes. And then finally, listener Beezy. Beezy was talking to me casually and he said, "I don't agree with you politically, but I feel challenged by your ability to wrestle through your own beliefs." And Beezy, I just have to tell you, that is not a gift, that is a curse. Issue number 3, accountability. There is something that I've just, speaking of wrestling through things, there is something that I have just started to wrestle through about myself. I don't know why it's taken me this long to wrestle through it, to realize it, to recognize it, and just accept it. But my internal sense that people need to be held accountable is much stronger than it is for other people. It's much stronger than it is for the general public. And I probably need to blame my mother for this, I'm sure, because I'm sure she feels exactly the same way. I'm sure I got it from her. But I want people to be held accountable. I want consequences for people when they do the wrong thing. And it drives me nuts when people are not held accountable. And let me just give you one example. One example from high school. When I was a sophomore in high school, our high school basketball team was pretty good. It was one of the best teams we had had in many years. And they were playing. So I went to school in the Philippines. I went to a boarding school for missionary kids in the Philippines. 90% of the students at my school were children of missionaries. We played other schools, like there was the high school at the U.S. Air Force Base. There was a high school at the U.S. Naval Base. There was an international school. And there was another Filipino prep school. That we formed a league. All these teams played one another. And our basketball team was playing the international school in Manila. And these were the rich kids. Whatever kind of 80s movie trope you have about the poor kids at the one high school and the rich kids at the other high school, that's what was happening here, except it was the early 90s. And culture ran a little bit behind, considering we were on the other side of the planet. But these rich kids, they had money because, like I said, they were rich. And we had a good basketball team. We didn't just have a good basketball team, we had a great basketball team. And one of the rich kids at the rich kids' school bribed the referees and said, we wanted to win this game. I don't know how much they bribed them with, but it might have been $40 each. I don't know. Somebody listening might know exactly how much they were bribed for. But they bribed the referees, and the referees, they did their duty to make sure to earn this money. And they fouled out the entire starting roster of our basketball team. They did not just foul out the starting team, the starting five of our team. They fouled out over half of the second team. And just so you know, to see one player fouled out it might happen. That's not unusual for basketball games. To see two people fouled out, that's unusual. To see 7 or 8 players ejected from the game for fouling, that something absolutely bonkers is going on. And it was quite obvious that the refs had been paid off. And our basketball coach, after the game, he confronted these referees. He knew these referees. He'd been hiring them for years to referee those games. And one thing I need to tell you about the Philippines. Filipinos love basketball. Basketball is the national sport in the Philippines. And finding referees would not be a challenge. You want to get rid of these guys, easy peasy. You will find plenty of very qualified referees to referee your high school basketball games. So our coach, he confronts these referees, and they admit that they've been paid off, and he forgives them. But he doesn't just forgive them. He continues to hire them to referee all the games at our school. This has been over 30 years. I still can't believe he did this. This makes no sense to me. You want to forgive them? Great. Great. You want to forgive them? Perfect. Like I said, this is a Christian school. I believe in Christianity. I'm a Christian. I believe in forgiveness. Let's forgive them. Great. They apologize. We'll forgive them. Forgiveness does not mean there's a lack of consequences, though. You've lost your right to continue to referee for us. We can't trust you anymore. We don't know that this won't happen again. We're not going to hold it against you. We're not going to press charges. We're going to move on with our lives. But you don't get to continue coming here and refereeing our games. A referee is supposed to be above the game. They're the ones holding everybody else accountable to the rules. If they can't be held accountable to the rules, then we can't know that the game's actually being run the correct way, right? Well, he forgives them because the coach, he believes in Christianity. He wants them to become Christians. He wants them to experience this forgiveness. And so he forgives them and continues to have them come referee our games. I bring up that story because there was a story in the news this week that has me just as dumbstruck. And that is that the commissioner of baseball has reinstated Pete Rose. Now, Pete Rose died a number of years ago, but he was on the permanently ineligible list for participation in baseball. And he earned that right, permanent, not just lifetime, but permanent. He earned that right because he was betting on baseball. And he was betting on his own team while he was a manager. He was a gambling addict, and he had a number of debts, and he decided that he could get out of this, or maybe he just enjoyed gambling so much that he was going to bet on his own team. And he would not bet on them to lose, but he would bet on them to win, but he wouldn't bet on them every day. So that gave information to the bookies and the gamblers. Hey, Pete's not feeling great about this pitcher. And that would change how they run their businesses, right? The reason this is a big deal is because gambling has almost destroyed the game of baseball more than once. The most notorious time was the 1919 Black Sox scandal. In the 1919 Black Sox scandal, gamblers went to a number of the players on the Chicago White Sox and they said, hey, we need you to throw this game. You guys are a shoo-in to win this. You're clearly the best team. We can make a lot of money if you throw this game. We will bet against you. Nobody else will bet against you. You're destined to win this. You throw the game, make sure that the other team wins, and we'll all make lots of money. And in fact, if you want to bet against yourselves too, go for it. So these guys, they throw the World Series, and it comes out, it's discovered. The reason this is awful is because if you can't trust the players to be trying their hardest to win, then this is all just professional wrestling. Nobody can trust what they're seeing. And these guys were eventually lionized in the movie Field of Dreams. A guy builds a baseball field in his cornfield, and these ghosts of these notorious villainous baseball players, they come back to play baseball on this field for one last time. And the protagonist of the movie, the farmer who owns the cornfield, is played by Kevin Costner, and he goes and talks to James Earl Jones at a baseball game, and he's talking about whether or not to keep this field and what's going on in this baseball field. And this is one of the best movie quotes about baseball, period. And here's James Earl Jones telling Kevin Costner what to do with this baseball field.
All right. This is fascinating. It is. But the fact remains is that you don't have the money to bring the mortgage up to date, so you're still going to have to sell. I'm sorry, Ray. We got no choice.
Ray, people will come, Ray.
They'll come to Iowa for reasons they can't even fathom. They'll turn up your driveway, not knowing for sure why they're doing it. They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past. Of course, we won't mind if you look around, you'll say. It's only $20 per person. They'll pass over the money without even thinking about it. For it is money they have, and peace they like.
Ray, just sign the papers.
And they'll walk out to the bleachers. And sit in shirt sleeves on a perfect afternoon. They'll find they have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines. Where they sat when they were children and cheered their heroes. And they'll watch the game. And it'll be as if they'd dipped themselves in magic waters. The memories will be so thick they'll have to brush them away from their faces.
Ray, When the bank opens in the morning, they'll foreclose.
People will come, Ray.
You're broke, Ray. You sell now or you lose everything.
The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball. America has rolled by like an army of steamrollers. It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again. But baseball has marked the time. This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again. Oh, people will come, Ray. People will most definitely come.
Now, in case it's not obvious to you, what James Earl Jones is saying is baseball is a metaphor for redemption. Did you hear what he said? It'll be like they're dipped in magic waters. That's baptism. He says it reminds them of all that was good and could be again. And people will come for miles to find redemption. That's what's happening on this baseball field. Ghosts are coming back to baseball to find redemption. That's what people really want from baseball. It's the opportunity for redemption. That's why we love to watch baseball, because you could strike out 3 times in a row, and then you get another at bat, and you win the game. It's a redemption story. Over and over and over again, redemption is on display in baseball. So of course we want to redeem Pete Rose. The problem is that Pete Rose didn't seek redemption. He never apologized. He never said I was wrong. When he admitted that he had been gambling, he did it with a wink and a smile and acted like it was no big deal. And it's a very, very big deal. The game can change in all kinds of ways. They could reduce it to 7 innings. They could say 4 strikes and you're out. They could say it's required for 5 outs. There's all sorts of ways they can change the game. We would still recognize it as baseball and still enjoy it as a competition. But if gambling comes into the game and changes the outcomes in a way that the spectators never know if what they're watching is real, the game cannot survive. It becomes this niche little entertainment, just like professional wrestling. And that's why Pete Rose can't be forgiven. That's why he needs to remain on the permanently ineligible list, because he never even apologized. And he did the one thing you cannot do in baseball, and that's threaten the integrity of the outcomes of the game. Imagine, people will try to dismiss this and say, oh, yeah, but Pete was only betting on his own teams to win. That you know of. At some point, he might have incurred massive gambling debts, and he would have been in a position of power to change the outcome of the games. And all a bookie would have to do is say, hey, we can get rid of this gambling debt for you real easy. You just need to throw this game. He made it so that we're not sure. He put the stink of gambling on the game. And the reason this is important is because you don't want any player in the future to think that they can get away with it. That everything will be okay if they throw a game. And the commissioner of baseball said, all right, he's passed away. All these players that are on the ineligible list, including all of the members of the Black Sox scandal, they've all passed away. Permanent means lifetime. Their lives are over now. Consequences are paid. Let's bring them back. Which means that they are now eligible for the National Baseball Hall of Fame. And there's 2 wings of the Baseball Hall of Fame. There's the museum part, and then there's the honoree part. Pete Rose and the Black Sox, they're all in the museum part. Shoeless Joe Jackson was an amazing baseball player. He's in the museum part. Pete Rose is the hit leader. He's in the museum part. There's another wing where all of the great players are honored. They should not be honored for their years playing baseball. They were amazing baseball players. They they lost the ability to be honored when they engaged in gambling on baseball. And I just hope that remains the case, that the committees who choose who gets into the honor wing of the Baseball Hall of Fame continue to say that no, these guys acted dishonorably. But I don't have a lot of hope for it. And that's why it made me upset. Because I'm not sure that the consequences will continue for these guys. And of course, this isn't just about baseball. There are two people at the top of our two major political parties who have been credibly accused of rape. And they are both held in high esteem and respect. In both political parties, there's all kinds of shenanigans going on with people taking money on the side in both political parties. Nobody seems interested in holding them accountable. Sure, you're interested in holding the people on the other side accountable, but you don't want to hold the people on your own team accountable. They've got charisma. They've got something you like. They're part of your story. And we can't reckon with that. We can't reckon that we might have somebody on our side who fought and died so that other people could hold black people as slaves. George Orwell has this quote: "The nationalist not only does not disapprove of atrocities committed by his own side, but he has a remarkable capacity for not even hearing about them." Lord help me, is that true? We love redemption so much, we won't just go to a baseball field in the middle of a cornfield in Iowa. We'll hand it out wherever we can, even to people who don't deserve it. But I could be wrong. If you think I am, let me know. And let me know why. I had fun and I hope you did too. Bye-bye.
It might be you. It's the wrong podcast.
Wrong!
wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.